Paul spends 11 verses. If you go back to Ephesians 5, he spends 11 verses in this passage in the context of marriage. And here's basically what he's saying. It's about God's glory. It's not about your happiness. It's about God's glory. I want you to be happy, but you're only going to be happy, and happiness is different than joy. But I want you're only going to be joyful, and you're only going to experience happiness in your marriage if you do it God's way. Right? And what he says is, it's not about your happiness. What he says in those 11 verses is all about Jesus. Your marriage is all about Jesus. That takes it out of the realm of, oh, if it doesn't do it for me. It's about something bigger, right? It's about Jesus. Matter of fact, he says it like this. Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Why you submit to your husbands? For the glory of Jesus. Husbands, love your wives. How? As Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. How are you loving your wife? Why are you loving your wife like Christ loved the church? For the glory of Jesus. He said no one hates his own body, but he feeds and cares for it just as Jesus did the church. Why do you take it? It's all about Jesus. And he ends that thing. Listen, he says here, notice this is so cool here. And this is adding to probably. It's not a rabbit, it's in the vein, but did you notice he basically said, wives, respect your husband, husbands, love your wives. He didn't say, wives, love your husband, and husbands, respect your wives. Why? Because, man, our huge need as a man is respect, and the huge need of a woman is love. That's the huge needs that we're different. Thank God we're different, right? And it's so easy if you're a woman. I think it's so easy to love your husband and not respect him, to be honest. And I think it's so easy if you're a husband to respect your wife and not love her like she needs to be loved. You spend a day with my kids and you're going to respect my wife. Okay? I mean, that's hard work right there. Man, them kids running everywhere. And I was home at Christmas vacation. And I'm like, whoo, boy, I need to go back to work. I respect that woman so much. But man, loving her well, that's hard. I think it's easy for you wives to love your husbands, but sometimes you don't respect him, and you might badmouth him and talk to your friends about him and like, oh, he doesn't do this. It's not healthy. It's not right. I think that's why Paul says respect is our need, and why? For the glory of God. Wives, submit to your husbands as you do to the Lord. It's about Jesus. Wives, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. It's about Jesus. Then he ends that with saying, it's a mystery. And what's the mystery? The mystery is this. Your marriage is about Jesus and his relationship with the church. Your marriage is a living infomercial about Jesus' love and binding commitment to his church. Did you realize that? Wow, that puts marriage on a whole new level. Wow, that makes marriage about much more than, the things we make it about. That puts marriage at a whole different level. So here's the question that'll determine your view of marriage. Here's the question that'll determine the state of your marriage. Is Jesus the Lord of your life? Is Jesus the Lord of your marriage? Are you committed to the glory of God? Are you committed to your pleasure, your happiness? To the extent that you're committed to the glory of God in your life and in your marriage, that will be the extent that your marriage will be what God designed it to be. So the question that's going to determine, are you committed to the glory of God, or are you committed to your happiness in your marriage? If you're committed to you, your marriage is going to last about as long as a Hollywood marriage, folks. But if you're committed to the glory of God in your marriage, if you're committed to God's word, then your marriage is not going to be easy, but it will endure.